I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, April the 29th, brought to you in part by EPRA Zero by Norbrook. It's a pour-on approved for all classes of beef and dairy cattle, 99.9% effective against the major species and stages of parasites. For more information, go to norbrook.com. April contracts are closing. Be feeder cattle here today, and then fat cattle tomorrow, and so things kind of got to get right. You know, those Chicago traders are having a good time. Cramming April feeder cattle contracts lower every day as they saw corn going up, but had to put the brakes on Tuesday, and then again on Wednesday they were only able to take it down about 32 cents, and you got your CME cash feeder cattle index for Tuesday sitting at 135.07, trying to jostle that thing and get it back close enough where people won't be wanting a cash settlement on there, but they're still taking all your out fronts down big, and we're sitting here at 118.95 on your April live cattle spot contracts, and that's going to be right in there real close. So, but the problem is once we go into next week, we're going to be at the very front end of our spot May contract on feeder cattle. They can do about anything then, and so just hang on to your hat, guys. And then we'll be looking at a June contract on live cattle, and I'm not sure why they would want to take that so much lower, but seem like your cattle kind of run together, and even though your live cattle are done with corn, it's still under pressure. So that's a scary notion going off into next week, giving those guys a lot of rope on their nearby contract. But your packers come out and bought cattle on Wednesday, and we're fairly aggressive, I would say, albeit at lower prices. But you wonder, why are they being so aggressive? Well, it's kind of like we saw a year ago when we saw the gouging and the big high prices of your box beef cutout values during the worst of the pandemic. These formula cattle are getting really high because we found out that those formula contracts that they did include box beef cutout values or maybe profit sharing. Well, we know what the profits are that the packers are getting, so those formula cattle are getting really high. So they're pretty aggressive on cash cattle on Wednesday, bought a pretty good slug of them, and even maybe given more than what guys were asking, and that's embarrassing. You know, when they go to a yard in Kansas and the guy's asking 118 and they said, how about 119? In fact, how about 119, and we'll let you keep some of those grid kickers there. You know, and then what does that make the guy feel like? You know, that's like going out on a date and trying to steal a kiss on the cheek, and she takes her top off immediately. I mean, it challenges your manhood just a little bit there. But let's talk about your futures. I'm giving you kind of an abbreviated version of the feeder flash today. I'm in Belfouche, South Dakota. I've got to get over to a meet and greet for the Greater Midwest Livestock Auctioneer Championship. Not sure what kind of shape I'm going to be in afterwards, so I wanted to give this to you while I still could. How about the board? April live cattle futures up 57 cents at 118.95. June down 40, so you saw your nearby going up to kind of meet cash there on the last few days of trading. Then you start going out forward and they just start tanking it. I mean, progressively as you go out to your back months. But June down 40, 115.45. You going out front on your live cattle futures down 82 cents to down 127. Ouch. And it's a commodity, should be getting higher like all the other commodities in the United States, and anything that has any value because of this administration that just keeps throwing money. Now they're talking about maybe a fourth cheese check. And everywhere you look, guys have the help wanted sign out. You can't get people to come work for you as long as they keep throwing free money at them. How about April feeder cattle down 32 cents is all at 133.87, and just trying to guess where maybe that CME cash feeder cattle index is going to be. Pretty good indicator is look at that real-time index that's always up to date and current. The latest available as of the recording of this report was 133.07, so That's getting pretty close in there somewhere. How about May? Feeder cattle contracts down 90 at 134.97. Now look at the back months of your feeder cattle, down $1.30 to down $1.72. Ouch. Fat cattle trading. We talked a little bit about it already, but Iowa sold 5,600 head on Wednesday from 119 to 120. That's $1 to $3 lower. Dress sales $5 to $7 lower from 188 to 191. Nebraska, over 18,000 head sold, confirmed just on Wednesday, and they probably likely had more than that before they had to get all those turned in. But 118 to 120 live, 188 to 191 on dress basis. Kansas, 2,300 head, kind of steady to $1 lower, so we're starting to see your northern feedlot areas and the southern plains kind of come together a little bit. 118 to 119, and a few dress sales at 191. Texas had 7,400 head, like twice as many as they had all last week, just on Wednesday, 118 to 119, and Colorado even reported some trade, about 1,100 head at 120. Box beef cutout values, choice cuts up 151 again, and like I said, they're getting so high when you figure those formulas in with their corporate feeder buddies. Likely those cattle are miles higher than what the cash market is. It would be nice to know. We get a range on that mandatory price reporting, and we don't really know how many of them are at the top of it. 290, 250 on choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon. Select 279 even, down 53 cents. Your slaughter 358,000, 2,000 less than this time last week, 131,000 more than the same time a year ago when we couldn't keep the workers in the plants. How about your feeder cattle market? Your real-time index on DV auction sitting at 133.07, down 39 cents. So it started to ease off a little bit, but we had some really good sales on Wednesday that propped it up, Bassett being one of them. Let's see some of your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 6,400 head there. Feeder cattle $2 to $4 lower. Calves $5 to $8 lower. Pretty typical of what we've seen all week. Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock 2,100 head. Feeders steady to $3 lower, but actually the stocker type cattle sold $1 to $4 higher, so some local demand around there and guys looking for some of those. But I mentioned Bassett. They hadn't had a sale recently, but 4,200 head in Bassett, and really impressive quotes. I'm just going to show you the automated market report. This includes all the cattle. They all look like individual quotes, but these are all the cattle within the weight groups. How about your steers? 5-weight steers, almost 950 of them, average 568 at 169.96. 438 head of 6-weight steers, average 665 at 158.03. 779 head of 7-weight steers in Bassett, average 753 at 141.82. Look at some heifers. 366 head of the 5-weight heifers, average 555 at 151. Almost 300 head of the 6-weight heifers, average 637, 138.62. And 334 head of the 7-weight heifers, average 743 at 129.87. All very impressive quotes. Now that's on all the cattle that they had at Bassett. Of course, 99% of them would have been the best ones you can find anywhere. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, and your Zach Tran top quote from the day, come from Roman Schooley at Bloomfield Livestock Market, Bloomfield, Iowa. 126 head, 863 pound steers, bring 138.85. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.